Okay, our next delegate is Jelena Vermillion, Sex Workers Action Program Hamilton, respecting gender-based safety audits for today's meeting. Let's turn her mic on, please. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having me today. I'm going to get right into it. My name is Jelena Vermillion, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Sex Workers Action Program of Hamilton. I am anecdotally also a personal support worker and training to become a nurse, and I was very much inspired by Olive's delegation. She is the nurse I would like to be. The Sex Workers Action Program of Hamilton is a nonpartisan group of concerned individuals, including those with lived experience, agencies, and groups committed to assisting and supporting those working in the sex trade industry. SWAP Hamilton promotes a community where sex workers have a voice, are recognized as valuable members of society, and have access to community resources that respectfully provide safety, support, and choices that foster well-being. People involved in sex work experience the damaging impact of discrimination, societal stigma, violence, crime, and poverty. We at SWAP Hamilton recognize the importance of the community working together to recognize and support sex workers. The main focus of SWAP Hamilton is to provide outreach support to street-involved workers, those entering or leaving the industry, and including victims of trafficking. There are three main areas of purview: our outreach, education. I'm nervous, so I apologize. I have ADHD.
Take your time. You're
advocacy,
doing great.
Outreach, and education. This is the first time I've delegated to City Hall, although I'm not a stranger to being in front of the camera. We focus our efforts towards harm reduction and to provide compassionate care. This includes, but is not limited to, providing safer sex supplies, naloxone kits, and direction for those members of their peers who want to learn how to use those kits if their peers use drugs. Direction towards local mental health housing, childcare, clothing, and food resources, curated occupational health and safety protocols, so tips and tricks for the tips and tricks, interactive workshops, and public awareness campaigns. I have provided best practice trainings to the City of Hamilton's harm reduction, sexual health, drug strategy, substance use, and mental health wellbeing portfolio staff members. Hello. Among the Hamilton Public Health Services Group, the AIDS Network, the Sexual Assault Center of Hamilton area known as SASHA, the Barrett Center, and most recently YWC Hamilton after I was nominated for the Women of Distinction Award this year. I've also guest lectured at University of Toronto, Waterloo, and Guelph, as well as Wilfrid Laurier, York, and McMaster Universities. I am an expert on this topic. And most importantly, I myself have sold sexual services for 11 years, 5 of which have been in Hamilton. Since I became a resident in 2018, I am an expert on this topic. Due to stigma and unjust legal repercussions as a result of unconstitutional criminal laws, despite what the current dismissal was saying, street-based sex workers and street-level sex work is forced into clandestine areas. As the Terry Jean Bedford Supreme Court case illustrated, this deleteriously impacts their access to safety. We're talking about all residents here. This reminds me of the 2015 Hamilton Photo Voice project, wherein one of the participants submitted a photograph of a public telephone, Bell Public Telephone. These telephones were shut off at midnight to supposedly discourage sex work from occurring. All they did was, in effect, discourage outcomes of safety and fostered unsafe circumstances, not just for sex workers, but all residents. This also makes me think about how I was made unsafe by the Hamilton Police Constable Ian Milburn when I was criminally assaulted by him when he responded to a false call by my landlord.
I have to stop you there. That's for the courts to decide. We can't have you. I know that it's a fact for you, but we have to protect people.
It was reported on publicly. This is a fact. I just stated a fact. It was reported on publicly. I'm not stating anything that's not a fact, Mr. Clark.
I would appreciate it if you didn't mention his name. Just continue with your presentation.
Okay, absolutely. I'm going to restate it without mentioning the name.
Thank you very much.
This also makes me think of how I was made unsafe by a Hamilton police constable when I was criminally assaulted, and when he responded to a false call by my landlord whose intention was to illegally evict me for doing sex work. Thank you. This made me incredibly unsafe. Another example is the local 2009 art exhibit, The Hood, the Bad, and the Ugly, which exhibited photos of street-based sex workers in Hamilton, effectively outing them. Many of them were single mothers. This exhibit further dehumanized, stigmatized, and blamed these women for supposedly destroying and making Hamilton's downtown neighborhood unlivable. This caused Big Susie's, a group preceding SWAP Hamilton that represented sex workers, formed by Ian Jarvis and Dr. Amber Dean, to form. We as sex workers are disproportionately women, both cis and trans, and bring a unique perspective to discussions of safety provisions in an infrastructure of public space. in infrastructure and public space. Above all, we operate from the recognition that we deserve rights, human rights, not rescue, and that we know what contributes to our safety, security, and our dignity. I stand here as an individual, a transgender woman of 30 years, but SWAP Hamilton represents a wide variety of those who are working in the sex industry: Black, Indigenous, Asian, or otherwise racialized sex workers who are trans and non-binary, single mothers, those living with disabilities, those who sell sex indoors and on the street, and those who use drugs and those who care about those who do. Audits, when conducted by a trusted organization or facilitator, are likely to lead to higher levels of participation, more and frequent answers, and continued input. Support to marginalized sex workers could mean that we could avoid scenarios that lead to abuse, like in July 2022, when a sex worker was beaten within an inch of her life in a Barton Street alley and is still regaining her ability to walk. And in the most extreme cases, death, which I will refer to later. The city's investment in this audit is an important step in the recognition that communities that are made marginalized have the right to determine their own safety measures. Nothing about us without us. To illustrate this, I shall read names of women who were associated with sex work who have been murdered related to our locale. 1995, Helen Gillings. 1996, Dawn Stewart. 1999, Margaret or Maggie Carer. 1999, Nadine Gerzensky. 2001, Susan Gorley. 2002, Kimlin Judy Togles, I apologize if I've mispronounced her last name. 2002, Felicia Floriani. 2003, Chevrana Abdi. 2003, Cassandra Doe. 2003, Diana Christina Singh Dimitri. 2004, Marguerite Jeanette Jugaro. 2005, Cassie Joyce Chachowski. 2012, there was a sex worker unnamed who was partially decapitated. 2013, Jiali Zhang. 2016, Tammy Lee. 2017, Alora Wells. 2022, I know her name, I'm keeping it anonymous, the sex worker that SWAP Hamilton fundraised for in February for her attack from last year. As the cost of living rises and poverty increases among more residents, more and more people will choose to sell sex to make ends meet. We need to consider all residents and how their safety is supported or denied, and do better. We are happy to support YWCA Hamilton's Feminist Research Center in leading a gender-based safety audit, and look forward to providing our insights throughout the process. Thank you for listening to me today, as gritting as it may have been. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our delegate? Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you for hearing me.
Okay, we're now moving